Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Lisa Espinosa, spiritual career coach and priestess, and we are here in episode 92 of the Rise Up and Share Your Soul's Medicine podcast. I'm so delighted to be here with you. We're going to talk about a really important topic, which is sovereign service. And so I'm going to break that down for you. What do I mean by sovereign? What do I mean by service? I know you know what those words mean, of course, but to really, from a spiritual perspective, from the perspective of your soul versus your ego structure. If you're new to my work, I help my clients and students connect with their soul's guidance and follow that guidance, right? Regularly, ongoingly, every day, throughout the day, so that they can share their unique soul's medicine with the world. And not just share it, because if you're watching this, you're already sharing it. So I'm not suggesting that you're not, but to share it to the highest level, to the most refined, pure expression of your soul's medicine. Your soul's medicine is your unique contribution. It's the unique gifts that you're here to share. And the ego structure can really get in the way. Our wounds, our trauma, our old beliefs can get in the way of us really sharing it, can hold us back. So that's what I help my clients do, my students, and those of you who are watching this podcast. So let's get into it. Oh, well, first of all, I want to acknowledge if you're here live or watching the replay at around July 3rd, 2024, or whenever you're watching it. But specifically for those of you who happen to be watching it around July of whatever year, we've crossed the halfway point of the year, right? My whole blog earlier this week was sharing some journal prompts so you can really reflect on the first 6 months of the year. And then either later today or tomorrow, another blog is going to go out with some specific journal. And I shouldn't call them journal prompts. You don't have to journal with them. Just connect with your soul about them. That's what I guide you to do. Have a conversation with your soul. And I share lots of really powerful reflections and prompts for you to ask your soul to help you step into the second half with so much intention, with so much presence, so that when the end of the year comes, you're like looking back with so much love and compassion for yourself and awe at what you've created. Okay, so having said that, let's talk about sovereign service. So sovereignty, as you probably know, means freedom, right? Independence. From a spiritual perspective, sovereignty, what are we getting free from? It's freedom from, first and foremost, your ego structure. Now, I'm not talking about the ego from a psychological perspective. I'm talking about it from a spiritual perspective of, you can think of it as, we are divine beings having a human experience. When we fully ascend and awaken, our ego is going to dissolve into the light of our soul. Until then, right? And if you're watching this, that hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened yet to me. I'm here, very much have an ego structure. We have both our soul that is eternally connected to source. It is constantly downloading blessings, wisdom, resources, divine solutions, new paradigm shifts, genius thoughts, all of that. Our soul is constantly in an infinite energy of receiving that from the divine, from God as creator, whatever word you use. And then we have an ego structure. I like calling it a structure because that's really helpful, like an ego architecture, that we have an egoic program running through us. And that's the part of us that believes we're separate from God, we're separate from the divine. And the ego structure is, constantly looking outside itself for validation, for validation. That kind of sums it up, right? Because it doesn't believe that it's complete. So it's like constantly looking outside, constantly comparing, constantly, measuring itself by how people respond to us. So that is the noble mission we agreed to, that we have a soul. We came into the earth. We're like, yep, okay, sign me up. I'm going into this earth matrix. But I not only do I have my beautiful soul that's always available 24/7, 365 days a year, but I'm also going to have this little thing called the ego structure. And so when I talk about sovereignty, we're talking about freedom from the ego structure. Oop, I apologize. I didn't realize this was on. Okay. So now, do not misunderstand. I'm not suggesting that while we're here on the earth plane, we can just get rid of our ego. That's not going to happen until we ascend and we, awaken fully. But sovereignty from it means it's not running the show. We know it's there. There it is. There's my ego structure. Of course, I have it, but it's not running the show. We have freedom. We're not its slave. We're not under the influence of our ego, like fully, right? It's always going to be there until we awaken and ascend or become enlightened, whatever word you want to use. But it's not the boss anymore. Our soul is. So sovereignty, when I use the word sovereignty, that's what I mean. And of course, then it means also that you have sovereignty from, trauma that we've experienced, wounds that we've experienced, burdens that we've experienced. All of that is connected to the ego structure. And again, this isn't to say that you don't feel pain or sadness, or that you don't honor the challenging situations, experiences you've gone through. But again, that they're not running the show, that your soul is the boss. I mean, really, that's what I coach all my clients on. One way to say it is for them to understand, oh my gosh, my soul is the mentor, is the ultimate coach I can have, is the ultimate teacher I have, is my ultimate guide. So now when I'm talking about sovereign service, let's put those together. What do I mean by service? And service, just like every other word, can be looked at through the ego's lens or through our soul's lens. And there's a lot of baggage around the word service. In fact, I have clients that don't even like that word. They're like, I don't like that word. It just triggers so much codependency and sacrifice and rescuing others and getting overwhelmed with other people's needs and not being able to take care of your own because you're busy saving other people. That is not what I'm talking about. That is the old paradigm. That was actually never meant to be service. It was the ego's way of keeping us stuck. So sovereign service, from a spiritual perspective, what is service? Service is, and you can think of it of different ways. You can think of service as leadership. That, and again, not from the ego's lens, right? But leadership from, okay, I'm going to go ahead of the crowd, not because I think I'm better or whatever, but because I'm brave and that was my mission. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to really work on becoming sovereign from my ego. Now, we each have a specific mission, right? So yours is very specific to you, right? So maybe you've gone ahead of the crowd and learning, how do I really have compassion for myself in this, as one of my teachers calls it, heroic human journey? And so you've done a lot of work in that. And so you become a leader for others, that they can look towards you because they are so plagued by self-criticism and self-judgment. They're literally stuck. And you are a leader. They can look at you and be like, oh, okay, I can learn from this person, right? So you can think of service as leadership. You can also think of service as adding value, right? And I think of this a lot. If you've ever gone on a hike in the United States, when I would do that back when I was still there, often we would go on hikes in North Carolina or New Mexico, and there would be signs like leave it as it was when you arrived, something like that. Like, in other words, when you go into this pristine, beautiful hike forest, don't leave your garbage and all of that stuff. And so we can think of it that way when we talk about adding value. It's taking it a step further, is that whenever you connect with another living being, whether it's a human or animal or whatever, that you leave them better than they were before they connected with you. Now, again, we have to be really mindful. I'm not suggesting that people are broken. You have to go and fix them. No, that's the ego's paradigm. What I'm saying is that when people connect with you, that they always feel more themselves, right? That at the minimum they don't feel worse, right? There's that. But really when you share your soul's medicine, after people connect with you, they either feel more at peace, or they feel more relief, or they feel more like themselves. They're resourced by their own soul. That's very different than, oh, they feel better because they just dumped all their garbage on you, right? All their burdens on you. That's the old paradigm. That's what keeps so many people, so many of my clients, when I first start working with them, they're recovering from years of this old paradigm service that burned them out, sometimes literally physically ill. And I have a lot of compassion because I was the same. I'm still recovering from that. So everything I'm teaching you, I'm learning as well, right? So that is different. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, it's very different when you're in service in this way and somebody connects with you. Let's say they're grieving. Sovereign service doesn't mean that they connect with you and now they just dumped all their grief on you. So there's this temporary relief, right? That's the old paradigm. What sovereign service might look like is that if you choose to, if that's part of what you're being called to do, you can witness their grief, not try to fix it, not try to solve it, not try to distract them from it, not try to give them all this advice so they get over it, but you literally just bear witness to it. That is such a gift to humanity. In fact, it's one of the greatest gifts because there's so much grieving for humanity to do. And when you leave, it's not that their grief is suddenly all gone and maybe they're skipping around the streets, but that there's relief. There's like, oh, they feel that spaciousness. They know, they remember that, okay, this grief isn't going to kill me. There is, my soul has me, right? And so that's the type. So service can be that adding value, right? Or being a leader. But this is the key piece: without attachment. This is simple, but not easy. So please hear that. And I'm not saying that to overwhelm you or so that you don't even try, but I'm just really trying to convey this requires great maturity and practice and devotion and commitment. To be of service without attachment is very rare. I'm constantly practicing that because it's hard. So what does that mean? It means that you're adding value without the attachment to, like, oh, I hope it worked. I hope that helped them. I hope they like me. I hope, I get validation that this was really helpful. Or, there's strings attached basically. And it can be very hard to admit that to ourselves, right? I'm not saying that you're like, okay, I guess let me rephrase that. It can be very subtle, right? Like you've probably met people this way. I'm sure I've definitely have been in service at times where I am totally attached, of course, because I have an ego structure. Remember, we all have an ego structure. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad person, or let me hide that from myself because it makes me feel so bad. Part of this podcast and everything I do is for us to normalize this and become very honest with ourselves and very sober, sober to our ego, and recognize like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can still be of service and have a lot of attachment to it. My value, that's one of the most pervasive and can be so hidden from us that we have so much attachment that our service is somehow connected to our value, to our self-worth. And that is a sneaky little thing that our soul, and I'm convinced that the ascended masters that mentor us, like Mother Mary, like Kuan Yin, like Jesus, like Babaji, like Buddha, are mentoring us in releasing that attachment, in understanding that we are worthy, we are 100% lovable, We are 100% valuable before we do any service. Our service is separate from that. That's what sovereign service is. Because when we still have attachment to that, well, I'm only valuable if I help a ton of people, or I'm only valuable if I publish my book and tons of people read it and it changes their lives, or I'm only valuable if I do my artwork and people look at it and they're inspired and moved and transformed, or I'm only valuable if whatever, fill in the blank, right? If I do a live and there's 100 people on it, like think about the trap that is. First of all, it keeps so many people from never even trying, because the thought of being disappointed or humiliated or embarrassed just holds them back so much. And it, for other people who do go for it and then get addicted to that, right? There's so much attachment to it. It really gets in the way of our pure or sovereign service, right? It really muddies the water because we have so much attachment that it makes it hard, if not impossible, for us to really hear our soul's guidance, wherein our soul is saying, hey, this is your next step. And your next step might be say no to that opportunity. And you're like, but if I say no to that opportunity, like, oh my gosh, that's such a great opportunity. It can bring me so much attention and like, whatever, like all these things that your soul's like, but no, that's not the opportunity. Or the other way around, right? That maybe an opportunity comes and you're terrified and you're like, nope, I'm not ready. Absolutely not. I am not doing that. I just took an opportunity like that last month. It's going to actually start fully this month to be part of this mastermind. And when the opportunity came, I was kind of like, now, mind you, before that, I was like, oh, I can't wait. I really want to be ready for this opportunity. It was something I really wanted to join. But in my mind, I thought it was years ahead. And then the universe did its magic. And suddenly I had the opportunity to join this year. And of course, all of my insecurities came up, right? My ego structure was like, oh, no, look at everybody else who's part of this. Look at how much further ahead they are. Look at how much work it is. Look at how much, you're going to be this little fish in a big pond, like all of this stuff. But my soul was like, you're ready, you're ready, you're ready, you're ready, you're ready. That's why it's synchronicity all aligned for you to say yes to this opportunity. It's going to allow you to be of greater service. And so in that moment, right, that it was that sovereignty of service to become free of my ego structure. It was still there and it still is. It's still chatting away, right? But instead, listen to my soul's guidance. And so sovereign service is what will lead you to truly share your soul's medicine in the most refined, powerful way, with the most integrity, the most authenticity, the most love, in a way that blesses you greatly in the process. So I'm not talking about just like, oh, it blessed me because I did good, so that makes me feel good. Like, I'm not dismissing that, but sometimes we have such low standards for ourselves, especially around service. And the Divine Mother doesn't want that for us. It's like, no, if you're here of service, I mean, this journey takes so much courage, so much vulnerability, that the Divine Mother is absolutely like, yes, you're meant to be greatly blessed as you do this, so you can continue to do it. Marina, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm not exactly sure which part you needed to hear, but I'm so glad you heard it today. And so sovereign service, that's what it is, right? It's like, and so it's not a thing you just master like that. It's an ongoing practice. So every time or my clients, right? Every time I coach them through this, right? And they heal another layer of that attachment. They're able to serve, to share their medicine, to lead with more sovereignty, with more integrity, with more boldness. They get to a point and then their soul is like, okay, next step, because we're on an accelerated journey. I mean, look at the world. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of need. So we're on an accelerated journey, right? We're in this we're learning how to be in an ongoing process of expansion. That's the cycle we're in right now as a collective. And if you're watching this as a collective of people who are here to serve, to help, to be the light showers, to be the wisdom keepers, to be the earth angels, to be the wellness professionals, to be the healers, whatever you want to call it, even if your label for work is marketer, but truly you are sharing your light and your love and your wisdom, we are on an accelerated journey. That's why it's more important than ever to be mentoring with our soul and to understand these concepts, to even just know, like, oh gosh, I can be in service through my ego's lens, or I can be in service through my soul. I can be under the influence of my ego, or I can be under the influence of my soul. And it's like, I want to be under the influence of my soul, like all the time, right? Like that's what I want. That's truly actually the meaning of being an influencer. Being an influencer is that you're so much under the influence of your soul that whatever comes out of your mouth or even just your presence influences others to do that too. Not to follow you, to become like you, but to like, oh gosh, she's under the influence of her soul. That's amazing. I want that. So I want to learn how to become under the influence of my soul. That's what truly an influencer is. That's what the masters like Ascended Master Jesus or Kuan Yin, Buddha, all of these masters, they were the original influencers, but they weren't like, be just like me, copy me, right? They were like, I mean, what did Jesus say over and over and over? The kingdom of heaven is within you. What was he saying? It's like your soul is inside of you. Heaven is inside of you. You are a walking altar. And people were like, we don't understand, but it's like, but the people that were called to him, who, as he said, had the eyes to hear, the eyes to see, and the ears to hear, were like, I don't totally get what you're saying, but I'm following this. I feel it. And then, of course, there were the people that were so taken over by their ego that were like, this guy is dangerous. We must make an example of him. And that happens over and over and over and over and over and over through our lifetimes, right? We've all experienced some version of that. And again, I know I chose a very Christian example, but if you followed me for any amount of time, and if this is your first time, I want to be very clear. I'm not talking about this from a Christian dogmatic perspective. It's just masters that come from all spiritual traditions. So we're going to do hello, Sophia. We're going to do an inner journey to connect with your soul. And we're going to connect. It was interesting when I was preparing for this. This is what came to me in my walk as I was preparing. I was like, oh, we're going to connect with that aspect of you that is already serving with sovereignty. Now, I'm not suggesting you're not doing that now. I'm sure you are in some ways, but this is your future you, right? The you who's already practiced this even more, refined this even more, really committed to listening to her soul's guidance, who has perhaps hired professional help to help them with that, right? Or whatever. But this is the future you. Let's say this is the future you at the end of this year. And if you're not watching this, I know some of you might be watching this 5 years from now. So just think of a year forward. But for those of you who are watching this in 2024 here at this time, let's think at the end of this year. That if you continue to stay committed to your soul, if you continue to gain sovereignty from your ego structure, not that it's not going to be there, it's still going to be there, but you're not going to let it run the show, ride the bus, drive the bus, however people say it. You're going to continue to be the disciple to your soul. And so, of course, by the end of the year, you're going to be a different person. You're going to be more filled with your soul's light. That's who we're going to connect with in this inner journey. And you're going to receive guidance from her or him or they. I'm just using the pronoun she right now, but you fill in whatever pronoun works. And get guidance from that part of you. Okay, so let's do that. And then at the end, I'll pull some oracle cards. All right, So let's go ahead and go inside. Oh, before we do that, I know many of you have heard me say this, but remember two things. One, whenever you ask your soul a question, your soul always answers. I mean, why wouldn't your soul answer? Your soul literally wants to talk to you. So your soul's not going to be like, no, I'm not going to tell you. The only thing is this. One, sometimes we're so overeager or so nervous that we don't consciously hear the answer till later. So I'm telling you this now because as I guide you to ask questions, I want to just really reassure you and invite you to just trust. So don't be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to ask this question. Is it this? Did I hear this? Did I make it up? Just know like the answer is going to land in my heart and I'm going to hear it. I'm going to become aware of it at just the right time. Maybe it's now, maybe it's when you're washing dishes or taking a walk. Or maybe if you do hear it and you're like, but I'm not sure, you just ask your soul to send you signs. Remember, your soul understands, our soul understands that we have an ego structure. It doesn't judge us for that. If anything, it's like an awe, like, oh my gosh, you agreed to have an ego structure. I know how challenging it is. So you can ask, say, if you get an answer today and you're like having doubts afterwards, say, all right, soul, I heard this answer, but please, please, please send me signs, send me validation, send me dreams, send me people, send me books, whatever, songs, dreams, so that I can know like, oh my gosh, that was a sign. That is what I heard. The other thing is sometimes your soul's answer might be like an answer that seems to have nothing to do with the question you asked. So let's say we do this inner journey and what you hear, and when I say your soul, I also mean that future you, right? That has more of your soul's light. And you hear some sort of guidance like, keep doing yoga, take more walks in the morning, keep going with your meditation, talk to that coach or whatever. And you're like, that's not I didn't ask about that. But that's the answer you receive. It's because your soul is saying, no, that's actually the answer you're ready for. You have to take that step before I can give you another answer. Not because your soul's trying to tease you or punish you in any way, but because your soul knows you're not going to be ready till you do that. So I've shared before, back when I was a middle school teacher in the Chicago Public Schools, shout out to the Chicago Public Schools, before my soul ever told me when I was teaching that 7th grade reading class, the way I start my book, some of you have heard the story. And I had that kind of quick out-of-body experience where I heard my soul very clearly say, your time here is done. And it's like in that moment, I knew like, oh, I'm done with this chapter of my career. But had my soul told me that months before, I would have been like, no, I made that up. No, it's not. But the reason I was ready for it then, it was because I listened to the other steps before that, which were start meditating every morning, go to yoga class, drive to that yoga studio, even though it takes you like an hour to get there and an hour back. Like all of that was preparing me to hear that guidance and actually take the guidance. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what you're going to have to do, but I'm just giving you that as an example. Okay? All right. So let's get ready. So I invite you to close your eyes and take some nice cleansing breaths. Feel the earth underneath you. I invite your guardian angels or those divine beings of unconditional love that are always with you to just kind of brush your aura. I'm just seeing like the angels with their wings, just brushing your auric field, almost like they're clearing your antenna. They're like, okay, we're just going to brush off any static. We're going to brush off any distraction. We're going to brush off any energy that isn't even yours. Just like, whoosh, just brushing it off. And then I invite you to bring the palms of your hands over your heart center as I'm doing now. And you might just do this for a moment, or you might stay like this. But you're coming out of your intellect, you're landing in your heart, your wise heart. And then you're saying either out loud or in your mind, just saying, beautiful soul, I welcome you. I welcome your guidance. I welcome your clarity. I welcome your help. Whatever words you want to use. And as you do that, visualize. If you can visualize, if you can't, that's okay. Just hear my words, that your heart is filling with light. This area of your chest is just filling with light. And as it fills with light, and I'm seeing it as this pearlescent white gold light, then it starts to create this beam of light in front of you. And you suddenly see this path illuminated before you, this beautiful golden path. And now you're standing on this golden path and you're feeling that beautiful light just surrounding you, this beautiful light. And as you stand there now, you are thinking of what we talked about today, sovereign service. Maybe you just say that, sovereign service. I mean, like, okay, sovereign service is what I'm aiming for. Sovereign service is how I share my unique medicine, my unique gifts, my unique contribution with the most impact, integrity, love, with the most blessing for others and for myself. Sovereign service. And so as you stand there, you look ahead in this path and you start to see this bright light starting to come towards you. And even though it's bright, somehow it's not hurting your eyes. It's very soothing to your eyes. Almost like this what they call the golden hour, like right before sunset. It's like very bright, but there's this beautiful dim quality to it. So it's very soothing. And so you're seeing this like a sunset walking towards you almost. But as it gets closer, you start to notice that it's taking on the shape of a person. And again, the closer it gets, the more grounded you feel, the more at peace you feel, the more that phrase, sovereign service, it's almost like it's becoming infused into your cells. Even if your intellect doesn't fully understand it, it's like you're embracing it. And finally, this light is so close that you're like, oh my gosh, you're looking at her face or his face or their face, and it's you. You're like, oh my gosh, it's me. It's you, just filled with more of your soul's light. So you are looking at the you that you are becoming, at the you that has already healed so much, has become so sovereign from the ego's grip, has really, in a way, mastered sovereign service. Of course, we know that it's an ongoing journey, but you look into her eyes. I'm just going to use that pronoun. You fill in yours if it's different. You look into her eyes and you're just receive first and foremost her love. She's just beaming so much love because she's saying to you, I wouldn't be here without you, without all the work, the commitment, the struggle, even the tears, the laughter, everything you've gone through is why I was able to reach this. And if it feels good to embrace her or her embrace you, allow that to happen now. It doesn't have to, but if it feels good. And then you're asking her, beautiful me, right? Beautiful me, sovereign me. What step are you guiding me to take right now, today, this week, this month? Maybe it's more than one step that will help me step into more sovereign service. What is an action step for me to take? And don't be surprised if the action step is slow down, pause, meditate, or maybe it's something more active, but ask what action step will help me step into more sovereign service. And then you're asking this sovereign you, right, that's so filled with your soul's light, show me a symbol that represents my sovereign service, my leadership, the way I add value to the world in a sovereign way. Show me a symbol. And receive that symbol in your heart, whether you see it yet or not. You know you're receiving it in your heart. And now this version of you is just raising her hands as I am doing, just like beaming them onto you, and let yourself receive a blessing of light codes of love to help you on this journey. So just receive now. You might just see it as light, as glitter, as bubbles of light. And we bring the palms of our hands together. Bow to your beautiful sovereign you. She bows back to you. And we end this inner journey with a namaste. Namaste. As you step back into your heart, into your body, fully present. This is a little longer than usual, but that's okay. That felt really good to me. If you want to share in the chat or in the comments what came up for you, the symbol or what step you heard. My symbol was this beautiful tree with pink blossoms. And it was like very, very big, lots of shade, but also like light coming in, and like some of the blossoms are falling down, but it had a really beautiful scent. It was like that was the symbol, what represented my soul's medicine. I will explore that more. So you tune into that. Remember, if you didn't hear it yet or see it yet, it will become clear to you. All right, so I'm going to pull. Oh, and I want to say also, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, that is the best way to stay on top of all the events that are coming up, to receive useful, soulful, powerful, simple tools. I will be sending out that newsletter. I haven't decided if later tonight or tomorrow, with those prompts for you to prepare for, for you to have a conversation with your soul and receive your soul's vision about the second half of the year. I will also send an audio recording so you could listen to those prompts. So I will put the link in my comments if you want to sign up for my newsletter so you receive things like that. So look at this. I know I keep showing off the side of this oracle deck. I mean, my inner child, when I opened this, I was like, oh, I literally just like looking at that. But it's a guardian angel oracle. So I'm going to, it's this one, guardian angel oracle. I'm going to pull a card for all of us from here. And maybe I'll pull another one, but let's see. This is a message for everyone here live, everyone watching the replay, about your sovereign service. What do the guardian angels, these divine beings of love that love you unconditionally, that are beyond any religious dogma, they don't care about that. It's just like, what do they want you to know? My goodness, they're like all flying out. Okay, this one. It says, believe, allow the veil of fear to drop, and let your true essence shine through. I love this. Allow the veil of fear to drop and let your true essence shine through. Believe in yourself and the divine power pulsating within you. You are a magical creator. I mean, how gorgeous is that? You might want to meditate with your guardian angel to help you with this. And look at the picture of this guardian angel. Look at that. The veil of fear, let it drop and let your true essence shine through. All right. Also, remember the free masterclass for this month. I am so excited how to boldly share your soul's medicine. That's happening later in July. So sign up for that. I'm just, I don't even remember if that's the fifth or sixth one of the year of the series, but would love for you to join. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great, great rest of your day and go shine your light, like this guardian angel is saying. I know it sounds so cheesy and trite, but it's the most courageous, noble thing you can do. Drop that shield of fear. Right? All right. Bye. Okay, it's not letting me leave. Oh, here we go. Okay.